Okay, yeah, I totally forgot to start recording, but that's fine. So pretty much what we have here is the API on the server end. And so this is what gets run, and then so I'll show you like you see that the API listens on a port and then it sends data. The res stands for response, and then the send is usually we're sending a string back, but the main takeaway from this slide is just rec stands for request, res stands for response. And you can see that links up with this diagram here. Response is usually given back to the backend, which is what we're doing here. Res.send, response.send. We're sending this to a response. And then on the front end, this would just be an example of the front end. We have, okay, we're going to do a get request. You're going to learn more once we progress more, that this is a get request. And we're taking the text, and then we're going to set the text from that promise. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'll show you like the demo. So like, let's say like the response when the server or when the backend is online, if you press that button from the front end, you'd get the data from the backend. Let's say it's offline from that sample code, it would give you a failed error because it's offline. You could see that code kind of right there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be building our own REST APIs. But to do that, before we want to do that, let's like set up the code base. So again, this repository right here, if you want to follow along, I'm just going to tell you what we're going to need to do. Before I do that, I was going to talk more about this stuff. So stuff's pretty cool. So here, yeah, so Wayne State, many of you know, we have Canvas. And so Canvas is unlike any other web application. It also has a backend. That's where we get the data from. So there's several endpoints is what they're called, like places where the backend data is. So if I were to do canvas.wayne.edu/courses.json, you see that the way Canvas is built is that it has some endpoints kind of just exposed like this. Usually, I'm assuming for the front end to parse, but you could see if we were to just directly access /courses.json, you could see all your courses in JSON. And JSON, if you didn't come to the web scraping workshop, I think like 2 months ago, web scraping was like taking data from HTML, but taking data from a JSON file is like 10 times easier, and you're going to learn like how much easier it is. And there's also more endpoints. There's some other, so you can see like how many on like this is right here, like /API v1 conversations. So this goes into my personal conversations, how many unread conversations I have. And then if I were to open up Canvas, you can see I have 55 unread conversations. So that's pretty cool. There's also one more, the dashboard cards. So this is also JSON, so you can see all the courses I'm in. There should be 6, right? Because that's how many courses I'm in. If I were to open up Canvas again, you can see I have 6 dashboard cards right here. This is where that data is coming from, I'm assuming, just from my research into looking up the Canvas API. And so like, how did I figure out how to do this? Because thing is, like, you don't really get to see this. I bet a lot of you didn't even know that there are endpoints that you're able to kind of access. So like, how did I figure it out? Well, there's API documentation, and oh, that's a dead link. I'll have to find it, but actually, yeah, okay. So the API documentation. So Canvas is made by this company or whatever in Structure, and so they have API documentation that tells you how Canvas works, pretty much. Like you can see like assignments. Like if you want to get your assignments, there's like endpoints, or there's API calls for all of this stuff. And so if you start to see like, if I just wanted to get like one assignment, it's doing so many actions. Like it's doing like, okay, list your courses. Okay, he clicks on this course, we're going to go to that course. Oh, he clicked on this assignment, we're going to go to that assignment. And then you see that that's pretty much like that amalgamation of all of those actions are built upon one API or a span of several APIs within the same kind of system. And so, yeah, there's a lot of application for this. I mean, this is how the web is built on. So, here's another. There's some public APIs too. This repository, github.com/public APIs/public APIs. There's a ton of stuff you can do. There's one that I found in particular. I don't think we're gonna have enough time because I want to get into the meat of this. But pretty much, oh, I didn't even copy it right, but it's fine. Actually, I did. Yeah, this is a university. Like, it gives you all the universities in the world pretty much. It's taken a while to load because it's a lot of data, but pretty much, like, you can see, like, this API, it's a static API, meaning the data doesn't really change unless the person who updates this repository to, changes it manually, but it's not dynamic. I wouldn't consider it. So you can see, like, there's a ton of like, what's it called, universities here, and they're in an array. So it's just like a list. If I were to, like, search at Wayne State, there it is, Wayne State right here. And then one of the projects which I wanted to do, but it would just take too much time. It's not that relevant. I can just show you though. It wants to. Yeah, so my computer hates this. Okay, so yeah, what you can do here is I just made this HTML file that parses all this data, shows the country where it's from, or where it's from, and also if you, like, when you search out, like, Wayne State, yeah, you can see right here, it's right there. And then I'll show you the code. So the code is, like, one sec, I gotta open it. Yeah, so the code isn't that sophisticated. It's just, what we're doing here is we're taking a URL, we're taking that same URL that I just showed you on the web. We're gonna perform a GET request, and that's pretty much just taking data. So a GET request, we're gonna take the response. Remember, it's that same response from this diagram. The client script is gonna make it'll make a request, and then the server, the backend, will return a response, the purple arrows. And so here is that response. We have that response right here. And then we parse the JSON data. And what I'm doing here is I'm just iterating through it and applying, like, an image to just take it from from that JSON massive list of JSON. I'm just iterating. I'm adding it each row, and you'll see that it appends to all this. You can see it kind of loads data at first. That's what that condition, it is initially like that. And so that iteration makes it like this is all the code you need for, like, 7,000 universities. Like, that's all you need, which is, like, pretty nice, just because, now you don't have to constantly update everything manually. It's just based off one centralized source right here, this API right here. So that was one of the projects, but we don't have enough time to do that. I mean, I just showed you, so that's fine. Okay, so we gotta set up our coding environment. So I don't know. One of the requirements is Node.js. If you don't have it, please download it. Unless you don't want to follow along, I'll send it in the chat. Get version 17. That's probably what I have. Yeah, I have 17.7. So it's fine. Just get the current version for whatever operating system you have. I have Windows. I mean, I already have it, so I don't need to install it. And then another nice thing to have is Postman. Postman is an API developer's best friend. This makes API development super easy. I'll send this link to. I forgot to mention you should have downloaded that too, but that was my fault. So I'll show you what, like, Postman does. And so, one sec. Let me close this out. And then, yeah, so pretty much, yeah, so Postman, I also have in the repository, I have this JSON file right here. I'll send it in chat. You should, if you want, I mean, we can just do it from scratch, but if you were to import this into Postman, then you could just follow along. But I don't know if anyone's even ever heard of Postman, so it'd be just a mess going through that. So I'll just show you. So one of the APIs that I found Or actually, I'll give you a minute to download if you guys need it. I don't want to like speed off. I'll give you guys like a minute or so. Yeah, it's just Node.js and Postman. And in the meantime, I'm going to set up the first project. Just setting up the file structure. So okay. All right. Should we just let me know if you guys need me to slow down. I'll slow down. I got a lot planned. I think I over prepared, so I want to get through all of it. So I'm going to open up this folder that I made in Visual Studio. Use whatever code editor you want, assuming you have one. So let's see. So what I'm going to do here is, so let's say we have our Node.js now, and just to check if it works, if you just do like node b and you get like a version, then you're good. If it's like if it says like it's not a recognized internal or external command, you either didn't install it or something happened with your environmental variables. And just let me know if that happened. We can figure that out. So assuming you have Node installed, you also by default have npm installed. And so npm is Node Package Manager that allows you to install different like packages in Node.js. So like if you guys are familiar with Python, there's pip. That's like the Python package manager. I don't know what it stands for, but that allows you to install Python package. This is like Node's version of that. So here I'm gonna do so like to set it up, what we want to do, like set up a Node project, we want to do npm init and then y. That's just to like skip the stuff that it asks. We just want to create this package.json file, and just so that we have like a manifest. That's kind of like our manifest file. So to do this, what we want to do is there's this fun fact API, right? And so it's at this URL. So what I want to do here is, this is Postman, by the way. If you just got on Postman, I'll make like a new thing. So let's say this is our empty Postman. So just call it test. And then in here, I want to create a new request, add request. And so I'm going to copy this. So let's say we have our API. So this is the joke API. I'll send it into chat. If you were to click on it, let's see what it gives us. So I'm doing a GET request to this URL, and boom, you get that. And let's say we were to do this through Google. If I were to do, by default, when you go on a website, it's a GET request too. So by default, it'll give us a JSON data. It would look like this to you probably, like this, just because I have this plugin. It's really nice, but it's just JSON, and it's every time you refresh it, it gives you like a what's it called? Just a random joke. So that's what this GET request does. Remember, this is a GET request, so we're just pretty much asking the server, hey, can I have this? There's different kinds of requests, and hopefully if we have enough time, we can go through that, which is why I'm trying to speed up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to npm install in the same folder that we created our package.json and did npm init y. I'm going to do npm install let's see, Axios, just through our command line. You don't know how to get to your command prompt too, just like go on the top here, type in cmd or you could do like I have a terminal here. If you're on Linux or Mac, you can just, I don't know how to do it. You just cd to the directory. So it'd be like cd cd like the rest proj. I hope if you don't know how to do it, just ask. We'll do it manually, but we're just assuming you do know how to do it. So what we did here is we installed Axios. So Axios is like an HTTP module that allows you to perform a numerous amount of REST actions for whatever API. And yeah, so what we want to do is we have a main file here called index.js that I forgot to make, index.js. So in here, we want to call the Axios module node. And through here, we're going to be able to perform a GET request to this endpoint. So pretty much what I'm going to do in this script is take data from here and like parse it in a string and make it look nice to the console. So I'm going to do that real quick. So I'm going to const URL, and so that, remember that URL is here. So it's that URL. I'm going to perform a get request to it. So the function main, and here I'm going to do axios.get. So I'm doing a get request, and then the URL, which is defined above. Zoom this in too. Yeah, so doing a get request to there and do response. Yeah, so the thing is, the second argument is actually there's no second argument. I was looking at that wrong. So this right here is a promise. Promises in JavaScript are a little tricky. So it's pretty much just like .then, and then you have like your data. So the way this thing is built is this package is built so that it'd be a response, and that's a callback function to what it does here is the response. Remember, res, the same thing here. Response, that's what we're getting back from the web server. So it's just similar to the first example that I showed with that universities list. We're taking that response and we're gonna do some, let's say, so if we were to just console log this out, response main, then like node dot, that'd run it, and then so what we get is we get a ton of weird stuff, right? And that's part of the response, because there's headers and there's also, you see the method here. There's a ton of parameters within each request, kind of like this slide right here. You see right here, every request you make has a ton of other parameters like response headers, which are kind of like parameters to your request. And there's a ton of stuff, and that's all in this object right here. But what we want is the data, which is pretty much like this whole thing, this data that we get back from the server, because I don't care about the headers and other additional parameters. I just want the data. So if I were to console log that, I'm going to do node index.js. What we get is that same thing from Postman, just like that, same exact thing. So now I want to print it out in a really nice way. What I could do is const response data is equal to response.data. So that's literally what this is. And then what I could do is const fact object, which is going to be this right here, because the way they built it is that they have this true, and then they also have the data. I don't really care about the status, and I just kind of want this data. So I'm just going to take response dot was it data, or no, it'd be response data dot data. That gets kind of confusing real quick. And then if I were to console log that, get fact object, we just get that information that we want. And so another way of doing that is using deconstruction in JavaScript. It's pretty nice, it's versatile. So what I'm going to do here is data, and then take the data of that, set it to data. It's kind of confusing, but pretty much what we get is the same thing, but it's just a lot cleaner. Console.log data. If or the console, it should be the same. Oh, I screwed that up somehow. It'd be response because because it'd be just response because we're just taking data, and so should give you it should give you that. So now let's parse it in a nice string. I'm gonna do console.log. That's the wrong place. So I'm just gonna put that up here. Console log, like fun fact, and then data.fact, because remember this is data, like essentially, and so pretty much data.fact, that'll just access this string, and then this new line and call it category. Seems like they have a category, so that fact was based on the tech category. So I'm gonna just say like the category was in data.cat because that's where that key is, and then that key accesses this value. And then this fact has data.hits. And so if I were to run this, so we have fun fact, Amazon.com is not the original name of the website. The category it was in was tech, and this fact has 123 hits. So you can see that what we did is we took this and we kind of semantically processed it to something that would be readable to a human, because this by itself isn't really readable. Just this JSON block isn't readable to a human, especially someone who doesn't really know anything about technology. They'd probably be confused if they just saw a random kind of string of like if they just saw this on their browser. So that's the importance of this, because we just took a GET request and then we kind of outputted it semantically like that, like pretty much like that. And so that's the first project. Let's actually build a REST API now. And pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to be like, because what we did right here, all we did was one side of it. We did the client kind of front end side. We just kind of knew about their back end, but we don't know how their back end was built. So all we did was just the client and the kind of the client script. That's all we did right now using this here. But now we're going to build a back end, and we're going to be using Postman. So again, if you don't have Postman, recommend installing it because we're not going to be building a front end for this. So let me create a new folder here called proj2. Actually, technically this is proj3. I just skipped over proj2. Oh, I opened this up. Okay, never mind. Let me just close out of this. Okay, so new folder. Open this in Visual Studio. So here, what I'm gonna do is, we're just gonna be building a REST API kind of from scratch. So remember, just like the slides, we have to do a couple things before we, just before we set up our project. So to do that, we do, what's it called? npm init/y. Okay, yeah. And so what we did is we just made the package.json. This is where we can put our dependencies in. And so I'm also going to do npm install express. It's like the best HTTP or kind of best like extension to use for REST APIs, in my opinion. And our main file is index.js. So index.js. And please, if you have any questions, like interrupt me. Haven't really heard anything, so hopefully it's fine. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just doing what we did up here. So we're gonna be building a REST API. It'll be a little more sophisticated than this. So what we're doing is we're just taking express, which is the like the function express, and app is like what app is gonna be like the, I don't know how to say it. It's just like, I don't know. You'll see what I mean. So if we just do like, let's get our web server running. because Express allows us to do so. So it'd just be app.listen. And I forgot to define a port. So for any web related thing, you kind of need a port to listen on. So I'll just do const port is equal to, I'm going to do 5,000. Make sure it's above. If you can do like anything from like, I think like, I believe, I don't know the bounds, but it's like from 10 to like 10,000. Port 80, if you don't know, port 80, that's like the standard like HTTP thing. You need permissions to use port 80 or anything below 1024. So I'm just going to use 5,000. That's not really important. So you could use 5,000. So port. So we're going to listen on port, and then we're also just going to have a callback function here that's going to say console.log. Okay. Our server is listening on port. And so what this would do if I were to run it, you can see it'll say our server is listening on port 5,000. So just like that, our server is listening, but we can't really do anything with it. So let's define some routes. So this is routing. We're going to do a basic route saying like just to get some sort of response from the server. So I'm going to do app.get. So this will be a get request. We're not requesting anything, but this is pretty much listening for a get request on slash. So slash is the root. So the first parameter is like the route or like the path of your web server. So like here, this would be the same thing. It'd be the slash, and you'll see what I mean because if this is confusing. So let me do this. So just like on the presentation, we have rec and res. So as the second parameter, it's a callback function to that. So I'm going to do request as the first, and then response is the second. So remember, the request comes from the client. The response is sent out to the client. So we're kind of that. We're right now we're building like the server side aspect to that. So to like send something back to the server, we're going to do response dot JSON. I'm going to send it as JSON. You could just do response.send, and this will send back a string, but we want to be within the REST practices, and it's traditionally excuse me, it's traditionally in JSON. So what this is response.json just sends it back, sends anything inside of this function as JSON. So I'm just going to send back status equals or status true. And so if I were to run this, so it says our server is listening on port 5,000, and let's say I were to do a curl request to http //localhost. The localhost is like your computer, and then :5,000, that's the port. So if I were to do that, you'd get the JSON back. And so since that was a GET request, you can also use it through Chrome. So if I were to do localhost 5,000, you could see we get that JSON back. Now, if I were to shut the server off, right, if I were to shut it off, you'd see that it's not going to do anything because now our server is not running on, this is not running in general. So just keep it running. So let's build a, so I'm going to use Postman for this just to show. So I'm going to have http ://localhost 5,000. And right there, you get status true, just like that. So yeah, so we know that our status is true now. So yeah, so let's define some more ports. It's weird. Wait. Okay, actually, that's how it's supposed to be. All right. So now that we know that, we're gonna define. So what this project is I was like, I made it yesterday, so it's pretty much gonna be like a joke API. So kind of like this throws facts at us. The free fun fact API, like this just spits out a fact. Random fact. We're going to kind of make one for jokes, but we're going to build the backend for that. So to build a backend, let's just have like a kind of a global variable called jokes. and then that's an array. And I have predefined jokes, so just make sure it's a list of strings. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I pretty much just have that. If you want the repo, just ask in chat. I can send it again in case you were not able to find it. So yeah, so jokes, and that's an array of jokes. So what I want to do now is let's like somehow serve this to the user. So I'm gonna have another route called app.get/joke, or let's call it /get_joke, and then we're gonna do request, response, and so that's like the callback, and then whatever we want in here is we're gonna send like an array of this. So yeah, so let's see. So actually, before I do that, I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna make one that gives us all the jokes. So get all jokes. And then this is just going to be response.json. So it's just going to send JSON of the jokes, which is that global variable up here. So right there. So if I were to do like /jokes, or get all jokes, it should give us that array back. And you can do it through your browser too, it'll work, because this is a get request. So it would send back all those jokes. So let's say we want to get a specific joke. So here we're going to be using URL parameters. So I like how Postman has it. So they have like this section called params. So here, if I want to get like a specific joke, and to access it, we're just going to use the index of the array. So I'll just do like num is equal to 0. That'll give us the first joke. So you can see if the key is num, the value is 0, and you could see it appends it onto the URL itself. So let's see how we would parse query parameters, because that's what these are called. This little extension with the question mark num, or question mark key is equal to value. And you've seen it before on websites before, and we're gonna learn how to like parse those. So to do that, const, we're gonna deconstruct query from request. So okay, and this is the same thing as like request.query. And so remember, we're not using response.query because response is what we're sending back to the client. Request is what the client is giving us. So we're taking in request. So here it would be like num is equal to 0. So if I were to like console.log like query, and then if I were to go to /get_joke, oh, I didn't send anything back. I totally forgot. Yeah. So, well, yeah, I didn't need to send anything back, but you could see that it's empty. Oh yeah, because I got rid of it. So it's like num is equal to like 1, so it'll be the second index. You'll see that over here we have console logged key with value, or key with num and value of 1, and so that's what query is. And so now that we have that, we can do like if they provided us query.num. So if they gave us a number, we're going to try and catch. And so we're going to do response.json because there might be an error here. So we're going to send back a joke, or we're going to send a key joke, and the value jokes of query.num. So remember, this is a dictionary or object, and we want to access .num, so that's query.num. And in case query.num doesn't exist, so let's say it like doesn't exist, yeah, like they didn't define it, they didn't give us one, be like undefined, and that would throw an error. So that's what that try catch is for. But then if you think about it, if query.num, actually no, it would be, yeah, no, the whole point of having this try catch is like in case they gave us a number that's out of the bounds, like 300, that would give us like an out of bounds error. And so here we'd want to catch, do like response.json, and good practices is to have like an error, tell them the error. So it'll be a key of error, invalid joke number. And so let's finish this. So it'd just be query.num. And let's say they don't give us a query. like, because right now, if we were to run this and don't give a query, the response would hang, and a hanging response looks like this. It's just sending requests. It's waiting for the server to send something back, and that's never good because then you're not going to have your service fulfilled to whatever customer or whatever. So given it else, and then let's say they don't give us a number, we're just gonna, let's just send a random joke back. So let random joke equal to jokes math.floor math.random jokes.length. Okay, and so what this does is it just takes the jokes array. On this logic right here, all of this does is just gives you a random index of it without giving you like an error. It'll just give you a random entry into jokes. So this random joke would just give us pretty much like a random entry within this jokes array. And so all this is going to do, we're just going to response.json and then joke, random joke. And then, yeah, so let's say the joke wasn't found. Let's say like it was valid, but we just weren't able to get it. I'll just say like joke not found. So the 2 pipes is like the OR. So if this value is null, then it'll go to this value by default. And so if I were to, let's run this now, should work. Let's see. So if I were to run like 1, this should give us in theory this joke right here, this specific joke. So if I were to run this, because we have the number and the value, if I were to run this, yeah, you get the joke, the key of joke, and then the value of what do you call a fish with no eyes, which is that second index. It worked for the first index too. Let's see that. You'd get the first one, and let's do one out of the bounds of the array. So 6, that obviously won't work. Yeah, it'll say joke not found. So I guess it wouldn't even catch it. I guess this doesn't really matter. Actually, maybe it does. So let's see. If I were to do like a not a number, oh, I guess it would have worked. Okay, so this is just pointless. You don't need this. Try catch. But you did. You don't. So yeah. Let's do like, let's just keep it the first one. So yeah, we get the first one, and then let's do a random joke. So we can get rid of this with Postman, and so you get a random one each time. Yeah, just like that, it'll shuffle through it with that. So that's getting like 1 joke. If there's anything I'm missing. So yeah, let's do let's see like how we want to add jokes. And like to add, like, let's say we want to like add a joke to this array from the user, because all we have right now is just giving data to the user where there's no interactability or interactive feature. I don't even know if that was a word, but there's no interactive kind of aspect to this. It's only just taking data. Let's say we want to like add data. So I'm gonna go to the bottom here, say like yeah, I'll just put a kind of marker here. So part of the practices for REST APIs is there's this thing called CRUD, and it stands for create, read, update, and delete. And it's how you store data. And so what it is it's pretty much what it says. Like when you have an API that follows CRUD, you're able to create, read, update, delete. So far what we were able to do is read. Yeah, we were just able to read. And because reading is just like taking data and like reading the data. So let's say we want to like fulfill the C in CRUD, so that'd be create. So to do that, what we want to do is so we've been doing .get. So there's other kinds of requests. There's a list here on Postman. There's another one called post. So I'm gonna add request here. So yeah, I have like all this already made, but yeah, so there's another one called post. So it'd be slash, well, actually we gotta make it. So be a post request, but yeah, so let's make the post request. So instead of app.get, it just be app.post. And so pretty much all of this is it's the same exact thing. It's just now when you run it in a browser, per se. Like if you were to do slash whatever the route is here, it would give you something else. So let's say we want to add a joke. So the route slash add joke, and also do the this kind of deal right here. Yeah, so we just want that. And then let's do like requests or response send hi. So I'll show you. So if I were to do yeah, so slash put it add joke, and if I were to run that, you'd get an error saying cannot get slash add joke. But note, we did dot post. This is listening on the post instead of like on the get route. So we'd have to change this to post, and then you'd see we'd get high because now it, now you see it now, or you can see because we send it back to the server. So if I were to do like localhost 5000 slash add joke, you're not going to be able to get add joke, but you can post to add add joke because that's how we're listening to it. So let's say we want to add a joke. So I'm going to do const user joke. So we want to be able to take the user's joke and request dot query dot joke. And so remember, request comes from the client. So we're going to ask the client, or we're going to take the client's question mark joke kind of value. So just be like add joke. So I'm going to call this like add a joke. And then this would be like joke is equal to what's up. I don't know any jokes. But yeah, it'd be just something like that. So that's what user jokes value would be, because we're taking the dot joke, because that's the way we have that key set up. So let's say if there is a user joke, let's say that they actually gave us one, then jokes dot push, because this is an array, we can just push it. User dot joke or user joke, and then response dot JSON. Status, let's say like we added a joke, user joke, and then yeah, and then we'll also like throw in the joke here, and that'll like that wouldn't make sense. We can just throw in the so let's say like we can add the joke here too. So we could do like joke user joke. Okay, and it'll just kind of also have what we just added along with this stuff. So if I were to do that, and then let's say they don't give us that, I'll show you what this outputs in a second. So let's say they don't give us it. I'm gonna do response to JSON error. Please provide a joke. So run that, and make sure you're restarting it. Like if you're running this, like restart it after every time you like save changes, because if you don't, then it's not gonna be. I just had this thing called nodemon that restarts it every time I save, so I'll just do it normally. I didn't even realize. So yeah, so let's see. I'll add the joke. Let's say I don't have a joke. Like I didn't provide one. It'll say please provide a joke. Okay, now I have the joke here. What's up? Okay, added joke. What's up? And then the joke that we just added was what's up. So now in this array, if we had it, I can do this just to show you. So it'd be like jokes. Let me add it again. So every time you restart it, since this is stored in our RAM, it's just going to clear. So there's no persistence to this project. The next project I have enough time explaining all of it. It's massive. That has persistence because we use a JSON database. But here you can see that we send the array of jokes back, and then you have the first three, and you have the first three like initial jokes, and then we have the one that we just added. I'm gonna add another one. What's up, version 2? You'll see that now this jokes array has that also. So right here, this post request is considered the C in CRUD. So the create, this is a create route. Create. We are creating something in this post request. So let's have another one. Let's use and these ones up here, the slash get, like one of these, they both are. This would be the R in CRUD. So this would be read. So just because it's you're just giving data back, you're just reading data. That's it. So let's have another one. Let's do the D. Let's do D or D/U. I mean, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna be able to delete a or delete like the jokes, like clear the jokes array. So it's kind of subjective. So it could just be, it could classify as update or delete, but app.put or wait a minute. Yeah, I was supposed to do app.put for this because technically, like I'm just this. It doesn't really matter. There are certain what's it called? There are certain like kind of benefits to using some over the other, like put or post or get. I mean, but the thing is, conventionally speaking, create or update kind of go hand in hand because you can use post for all of them. You just have to make sure your front end is doing those requests. Put, conventionally speaking, is used to update existing data. Create is to use conventionally to create data. And yeah, so I'm just gonna leave that post. But you could do put. Put is like I said, it's just convention. It's good to follow conventions. So I'm gonna do yeah, I'm gonna delete. So what I could do is delete app.delete. That is, remember, that is a route in Postman. Delete right here. There's also post. I could use post for this. I could use all those, but I'm just conventions. I'm following conventions. So slash clear jokes. So that'll be listening on that route. And then request and response. I think I just auto imported a couple things. Yeah, I do not want to do that. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna clear the jokes array. So I'm gonna do a response.json. I'll tell the client we cleared, and then we're gonna say like the array cleared jokes.length. So that'll be like cleared that many jokes. So it'll like clear out all those jokes, and then let's actually clear the jokes out now. So it'd be jokes is equal to an empty array. And so what that would do is it would clear it out. And so let's try that. So I'm gonna restart my server here. Go here. I'm gonna add a joke so you can see we're back to the default state. So we have our jokes, and so this other request will get joke. I want to get all jokes. You can see that all of our jokes are here. So I'm gonna add a new request or just duplicate them, and I'm gonna call this delete because I have app.delete. So localhost 5000 slash what did I call it? Clear jokes. Yeah, so it'd just be the same as that. So remember slash clear jokes, and I don't have any other parameters. I just, every time this endpoints gets hit, it'll just clear the jokes array. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Boom, it says cleared 4 jokes. That's how many were in the array after I added that other joke. So now I'm gonna get all jokes, and it should be an empty array just like that. So that's pretty much like the data management aspect of it. Yeah, that's all there is for this kind of simple API. It is simple, but you guys have any questions, just let me know. This would be the D in CRUD. Just delete. Yeah, if we don't have any questions, we could go on to the final project, which will take a little bit. So this project is, let's see. So I'm going to close out of this. You can see I have project 3. Yeah, I have all these routes. So if I were to run it, oh, I just closed out of it. So if I were to like run this, status true for like the main thing. If I were to get a joke, get a random joke, it'll just give me a random joke. Get a specific joke, so I'll get like the first joke. So that'll be, it's the same, it's not random. Get all jokes. And I have like these routes available as a JSON file in the repository. I can share the link again. It'll be actually right here. That's, if you want the code, and that REST API.postman collection, if you download that, import it to Postman, you'll be able to access all these routes. So if I were to remove all jokes, yeah, I remember I changed this, so it'd be a delete here. But yeah, I'd clear all jokes, and you can add a joke too. This wouldn't work either because I made it post, and yeah, but yeah, it would add the joke. And so yeah, those routes will work consistently. The only reason that didn't work for a sec, or just because I accidentally changed them when I was just adding them. But if you were to use the code from the GitHub, this would work perfectly. So let's go on to the next